So just to let you know, Madam Chair and stuff, that the dog is still home at this point. He's an English Bulldog, 2.5 years old. This is minor situation, however, second incident, so that's why we placed a potentially dangerous order on him. The inspection hasn't been done completed, even though that he basically advised that he's in full compliance at the house. Just need to make arrangements to get out there to do that. I'll continue to keep throwing. Aaron was actually the person who was bitten in this present incident. He can give his side of the story when this occurred. So on July 16, 2017, Animal Control received a bite exposure report from Police Communications that Aaron Frazier of 394 Stanford Court in Arnold was bitten by a pool dog owned by Timothy Asher of 750 Harness Creek View Drive in Annapolis. Officer Herbert of the Bite Department spoke to the victim on July 1st. Mr. Frazier, he explained that he and his wife was at 178 Doncaster Road in Arnold, where his daughter is living in a garage apartment at the property. He explained that it was dark out. He was coming down the driveway to the garage. It was about 10ish. Then all of a sudden, a dog barking and running towards him. He then kneed the dog away, and the dog scratched his leg and came back around and bit him in the buttock area. The owner came and wrestled the dog to the ground. During the investigation, Officer Herbert found that Mr. Asher had priors with the dog Ralph, that a warning letter was issued back in November 2015 for a minor animal attack that involved the man's dog and then bit the dog owner, Mr. Bill Murphy, on October 13, 2015. That was also a minor bite, by the way. Both situations, dog and owner. Officer Herbert then spoke to the owner, Mr. Tim Asher, and advised that his dog would have to be placed in quarantine at the shelter. Mr. Asher was not cooperative. Officer Herbert then turned the case over. I then contacted Mr. Asher and advised him about the incident. And he was aware of the incident. He knew the owner of the property. I explained that his dog would be impounded and orders would be issued for his dog having bite history and a warning being issued back in 2015. I asked through email and phone several times Mr. Asher sending in statements of his account of the bite with his dog. Mr. Asher never sent in a statement. At this time, I sent Mr. Asher a copy of a draft of the potential dangerous order for him to review and placed his dog on a quarantine for 10 days at the home, and the fact that Mr. Asher advised that he had most of the conditions that had been placed and the fact that the incident occurred off property. Mr. Asher followed the quarantine requirement. On July 19, 2017, Animal Control issued the final draft of the potential dangerous order. After review of the case file and the order was emailed to Mr. Asher, he received and signed. Mr. Asher did advise that he had all conditions at the home. Scheduling conflict prevented an inspection of the property. Mr. Asher then filed an appeal on the order, and that's why we're here today. The prior incident, just to let you guys know what's in your file, there was a warning letter was issued back in November 2015. The incident was on October 13th. It was a minor attack to another dog, and Mr. Murphy was bitten in a time trying to separate. And Ralph was at large at the time the incident occurred.
Of the 2015?
2015,
Okay.
yeah.
Right, Mr. Asher.
I'm sorry? Mr. Frazier. I'm
Oh,
Mr. Asher.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Right, Mr. Frazier.
That's Mr. Frazier. Complainant, defendant.
Right,
Mr.
he
Frazier.
can give his side of the story for the present incident. That's the reason for the order, was his incident.
Okay.
So he can give his side.
Go ahead.
My daughter is, as Officer Thomas said, my daughter rents a carriage house apartment above a garage at that address. And my wife went home with her after she had dinner with us, and I went to go pick my daughter up. And as we were coming back down, she went around my daughter's car, I went around the other side, and then Ralph came running at me. First I thought, because I did meet the dog once before, at first I thought the dog was, hey, I know you, you know, kind of running toward me to be petted, but then right away I noticed that's not what he was doing, so I turned, put my knee up, and he kind of went past me. I don't know if he tumbled or what, but I couldn't get around fast enough because I was worried about where Christina was. And he came up and bit me on the butt, and once she came down, Tim ran over real quick and grabbed the dog, apologized the whole time, but holding the dog down, and it was that quick. And I said, that he got me. You bit me right like upper leg, lower areas, so I have pictures, but, you know, it was that quick. And then he took the dog in, but the dog wasn't on a leash. I was kind of surprised about that, but.
It happened fast.
I'm sorry, we need you.
Oh, I'm sorry, it did happen fast. But what was strange was that he made no attempt to call his dog or stop his dog. My husband was fighting, he's pushing your dog away. And he was just he's a mean dog, he's a very aggressive dog. And you didn't even say anything. I said, what? I walked up to my husband and he said, I've been bit. And I mean, his dog had no right even, I mean, he doesn't even live there. The dog doesn't even live there. We've gone down that driveway numerous occasions. My daughter's lived there over 3 years, and we've never had to be afraid of anything like that. Everybody in that neighborhood, they have their dog on leashes. His dog doesn't even live there, wasn't on a leash, and we don't even know why we're here. Why he's appealing this, I don't know. His dog needs to be on a leash, needs to have a muzzle when he goes outdoors. Sorry, I'm just very upset.
All right, Mr. Asher.
Yes,
Your
thank
turn.
you.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm not really contesting anything they're saying. It was late at night. There were several attempted burglaries at the property they're aware of. My girlfriend lives there. She had been staying with me quite a bit and wasn't comfortable, you know, staying there all the time. They can attest to that. Their daughter was disturbed a lot, so she had asked to have the dog at the property when she came back. They, like they, you know, testified. They, again, I'm not disputing anything they're saying. They came back kind of late. Ralph was not on the leash. He has a radio collar that, you know, gives him commands. That was charging. I just walked back out. He did, you know, run over to him aggressively, bit him on the butt. Totally unacceptable. I apologized to them. Paid for his medical care. The only issue I really have is just very basically that, you know, he's a public safety issue. Both incidents took place on private property with the expressed, like the one incident, the first incident happened on my property. The guy and his dog were in the yard wrestling, or excuse me, the two dogs were wrestling, and the guy thought it was too aggressive, so he started kicking my dog. So, you know, I didn't have him on a leash. They were playing for a while, and then it, you know, escalated. But it did happen on my property. I don't know the law, but it seems to me if I have a dog on my property or private property, it'd be hard for him to be a public safety issue. I don't know. Maybe you can clarify that for me. Again, the owner of this property expressed an interest in having Ralph there. They can, you know, if you ask them.
In the house, maybe. The house was burglarized. There was no dog on the premises when the house was burglarized.
Correct.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
What's the relationship of Warren Prince and Marlena Stickley to the property?
Marlena is Warren's fiance. Warren is deceased.
Okay, they own the property?
They were married, excuse me. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have to recluse myself from this. I've got business dealings with both Warren Prince and Marlena Stickley. Okay. I don't have a good picture. I'm trying to.
Yeah, so.
This
yes, I'm
is
sorry,
your
go ahead.
driveway.
No, sir.
Your
It's my girlfriend.
girlfriend driveway.
Friend, yeah.
And the dog and everything took place in this particular driveway
On
that
private
belonged to.
property, yes, sir.
And you
His daughter rents an apartment on the property.
own that property?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything Tim
Above
said
garage.
is correct. It's correct. The
Okay,
house was
I'm getting. I
burglarized.
just want to make sure I don't.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
think
I
that.
didn't know they were boyfriend and girlfriend. I didn't know that.
But that's.
Yeah,
Right.
but, yeah, I'm sorry, but the house, I've been there 100 times. In fact, after Warren had passed away, because of the burglaries, I actually walked the property often, in the middle of the night even, with a flashlight, everything, because there was so much going on. My daughter was living upstairs, and nobody was in the house. And I think Marlene was just so afraid to be there, possibly. But my daughter was exposed, and I didn't want anything to happen to Marlena either. So I would be walking, so it was not strange to see me there, knowing that that was there.
Right.
She even asked me to do that.
Have you ever actually played with the dog?
No, No, well, I met the dog.
He met him once.
One time, yeah, one time we just happened to be there at a certain time, and then Tim introduced me to the dog. We don't know each other, but I kind of thought maybe the dog thought I looked familiar, but
Yeah,
you
It was
know.
just very
My
late. He was
question is, since you're not
disoriented.
disputing anything, why are we here? What
Well,
is
it
your
says that he's
ethnicity?
a public safety issue, and my question is, how can it be a public safety issue, a threat to the public on private property? I mean, if someone comes in my house, hypothetically, and attacks my dog, and my dog attacks them, how can that be a public safety issue? I mean, he's defending my property,
Well,
So
let-
so I don't
can't-
know.
okay,
I mean,
can't
maybe I need a lawyer
I
to.
can't speak to the fine points of case law.
Right.
But with regard to this, which is what we have some control over.
Sure.
What is it that you want us to do with this order?
Well, I think the whole premise of him being declared a public safety issue, I have an objection to that. I think some of the suggestions that Officer Thomas made were very good. As far as a muzzle in public, I think that's a great idea. It just never even dawned on me because he's a big fat bulldog. So obviously I don't want him attacking people. And he, when he's threatened, sometimes he gets aggressive. So don't want that to happen. So again, the main thing I have is that he's a threat to public safety. How can that be possible on private property? So can someone clarify that for me?
well, let's think about it this way. What if the mailman knocks on your door and you have to sign for a letter? Because that mailman is on your property, the dog is allowed to bite him?
Well,
Because it's the mailman's fault?
the mailman, the mailbox is on the street.
Okay,
Right.
UPS delivers something to your front door. And the
Okay.
UPS guy gets bit. Because he's on your private property, it doesn't count?
I kind of think so. Yeah, I mean, it's private property. The UPS guy would have to have permission to come onto the property, correct? So a guy who comes onto, maybe you could help. I know you're recusing yourself, but I mean, someone comes into the yard and kicks my dog, which is the first incident. I mean, how is that the dog's fault?
Wait, I want to make sure I'm understanding you. Are you saying that any behaviors of your dog that happen where you live, on your own personal property, the dog has no guilt because it's on your private property?
No,
The
I'm saying
the
he's not a
delivery
threat
people,
to public safety on my property. That's what I'm saying. How
to
can
the
he be a
extent
threat
that
to
the public has access and has a reason to be there. I mean, unless
Right.
you're living in a compound and you've got no trespassing signs posted everywhere, a delivery person, a worker, the cable guy, all of these persons have reason to believe that they can be present on your property without
Okay.
fear
Sure.
of being attacked by a canine.
Okay, so again, that's not the public though, that's a delivery driver, that's a different, you don't see the difference in that? Okay, and maybe I'm wrong and that's fine, but then I would just,
Is-
I'm just,
Is this property posted?
yes.
Is it posted?
Oh, Doncaster, no, it's not, that's again, that's a different owner, it's not my property. I was invited by the owner with the express idea of having the dog there, made her more comfortable due to the burglars.
And the dog is there for her protection?
Correct.
He is there for guard?
Correct.
He's doing that, he's doing his job, is what you
In a
asked him to do.
sense, yes. I mean-
But he's bit somebody, and you're asking about the muzzle. You don't mind doing a muzzle?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to have a
I'm
dog.
confused here.
Well, a dog can alert you. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to have a dog. It made her feel more comfortable in this instance. In my instance, I mean, maybe your idea of private property is different than mine, but I do want a dog to protect my property, absolutely. And I think I have the right to do that. And so, I mean, if someone comes in my house, how is it different than the UPS driver coming to my front door or UPS driver coming in my house to burglarize my house? I have a right to protect my property, and I believe that. So I believe that's my right.
This dog wasn't protecting your property, this dog was off lead, which is a
On
violation.
private property.
On-
Again, the first line of the clause that gives the Anne Arundel County Board to declare my animal potentially dangerous is he's a threat to public safety. How can he be a threat to public safety on private property? That is my argument. He's not in a church,
And I
he's
would
not in a
suggest that your
school.
argument is flawed, sir.
Okay.
It is flawed,
Okay.
yes.
I mean, he could be a threat to public safety under the public safety code, under the county code, if he bites a person, period.
Public safety.
There's
okay.
no,
Well, that's what we're here for. Because I'm not debating what he's saying. It did happen, so he did bit did get bit. I mean, he got bit on the butt, yes.
So you have the potentially dangerous order in front of you,
I do not, but I'm aware of the requirements, yes.
and you're already up to code with all the requirements?
The scheduling's been very difficult. Most recently, Officer Thomas said she was gonna call me this morning. Were you Officer Thomas?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get a call this morning. She went on vacation and my mom has cancer, so I've been in Ocean City. We had one appointment a few weeks ago and I guess it was raining, so she couldn't make it. So we need, like she said, we need to schedule a time to,
So to be in compliance
correct.
with the,
To be honest, I don't have any issues with that. I just have an issue in general with the premise of him being declared potentially dangerous, so.
Does anybody want to have any discussion here on the panel before I make a motion? I make a motion that we uphold the potentially dangerous dog order.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Wait a minute. Dominic.
I see what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying, private property. However, I also would have to concur with the 17-year veteran of animal bites in the county. He was off lead, yes, on private property, whom you are allowed to be on such property, and you should have protections from those animals that are on that property. It is a responsibility of the dog owner. This yard is not fenced in, correct? It's private property?
Not that area of the property.
Right, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion. Well, you made the motion, I'm
You
gonna
made
go
the
ahead
We're
and
waiting for your vote.
I'll accept it.
Okay. So
It's
unanimous.
already been seconded. We're just, I'm asking for.
I'm in favor now.
now.
Yeah, so it's unanimous.
so it's
Okay.
unanimous.
Tiffany, unanimous. We are going to uphold the PDL.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll wait to hear from you to schedule.
We can do it today if you want.
Okay.
And license.